everyone. So I know I'm kind of late, but I thought today I would try and film my January wrap up. So I would have filmed this earlier, but then I was planning on starting my channel earlier, but I just got wrapped up in like sorting out the account and making up a new email account for it, and it was just a mess. So I'm really late with this. I'm really sorry. So before I start, I realized that the book newbie tag that I did in my first video that was meant to kind of introduce me didn't really tell you that much about me. So I thought I would just do like a quick introduction and then get straight onto the books. So my name's Jessica and I'm 18 and I live in Spain. I moved here when I was 8 years old and I'm completely bilingual. And right now I'm on a gap year. So I was going to start university this past September, but I didn't get into my top university, which is like I have to go there because we can't afford to go like further away, and also it's closer to home, so I have my family there in case something happens and things like that. So I want to study medicine, and right now I am retaking a load of exams in June, so I'm revising at home, and hopefully I get the grades to get into medicine. So yeah, and I think that's more or less what I wanted to say. To do with reading habits, I've always read a lot, but then when I had baccalaureate, I did the European baccalaureate, and I was so busy with the baccalaureate that I just didn't have time to read. So I hadn't been reading as much. I kind of lost track of my reading. But then this year I decided I wanted to get back into it. So excuse me, I've got a cold. So I read one book, one really short book at the beginning of January, and then I think it was on the 26th, I decided that I was going to get back into my excessive reading habit. And I made up a list of all the books that I have in my room which I haven't read. Like I have a lot of books. I have shelves here, there, I have a load along my desk, I have a big shelf up there and my bookcase and a huge pile. I have I think almost 300 books just in my room. And so I made up a list of the ones I hadn't read. And then from the 26th until the 31st, I read almost 5 books. So over 5 days, I read almost 5 books. I say almost 5 because the last book, which I was reading, I didn't actually finish on the 31st. I finished it on the 1st of February. So that will be counted in my February wrap up, even though there's only like 15 pages left. So yeah, I'm just going to get started with the books in case it gets too long. So the first book I read this month, which I read at the very beginning of the month before I'd really got back into my reading, is Tommy Glover's Sketch of Heaven by Jane Bailey. This is a really pretty book. It's set in 1944 in England, and it's during the Second World War, and it's about a little girl, she's 8 years old, called Kitty Green, and she gets evacuated to this rural village in England in Gloucester. And she has to stay with this couple, and they don't argue, but they seem like there's something wrong. It's not right, and they don't seem to like her very much. And then she gets to know this boy called Tommy Glover who lives at the orphanage, and they don't approve of him either. And it's just a really sweet book about how she doesn't really, it's from her perspective, so it's from a child's perspective of the war and the experiences and leaving home. And just, it's really sad. It made me cry a couple of times. And it's just kind of like her life in the village, and then she slowly starts uncovering this dark secret that the village is kind of hiding. So it has some intrigue as well. It's not a lot. It doesn't really center around that, I don't think, but yeah, it's a pretty book. Then I got started like properly reading on the 26th. So the first book that I read was I Am Number 4 by Fifth Floor. I love that name. It's based on a boy, you could call him a boy, who's actually an alien. And he's sent to Earth because there's another race of aliens trying to like kill off his race. And he's there with it. There's not many of them. I think there's like 9 or 10. And they're trying to like hide from these aliens that are trying to kill them. So he's always moving around and everything. And then they get to this village and they settle down a little bit, and him and his guardian. And he seems, and for the first time, he has like friends and there's a girl, and it's just very kind of typical. And then I won't say anything about the action because I don't want it to spoil you, but yeah, it's a good book. It's very action packed. It's not really something to make you think. It's a very fast read, very fast paced. I read it, I think, over 2 days, but I could have read it in one. It was just because I was reading later on in the day. The next book is called Itch by Simon Mayo. And Itch is about a young boy, Itchingham Loft. Funny name, but still. And he is an element hunter. So he's this young boy, and he has this really weird hobby, which is he hunts the elements of the periodic table of elements. So he will buy lead bars and silver and gold, and he wants to collect everything off the table of elements. And one day, the guy that he usually buys a lot of stuff off gives him something, and he's not sure what element it is. And then there's this whole, it goes from there. It turns into this huge adventure type thing, and it's a kid's book. You can tell it's a kid's book. The style of writing is meant for kids, but then there is kind of like disturbing parts, like throwing up blood and a dead body and things like that. So it's a good book, but you can tell it's written for kids, but then there are parts that are quite disturbing. I enjoyed it. It was a fast read. I read it in one day. The next book I read was probably the worst book I read all month, and that is Trip Over by Annie Thomas. And this wasn't even on Goodreads. I actually made up a page on Goodreads just so I could include it in my 2015 challenge. And it's kind of like a really bad TV show put into book form. It's about this teacher called Nick Mandolin, I think he's called. And he's in an unhappy marriage, and the headmaster of the school's got it in for him, and one of his colleagues has the hots for him, and it's just and one of the students is in love with him, and it's just kind of inappropriate and a bit. It's not a good book. It's just like a story to pass the time. It's not really like the blurb is two lustful colleagues, a besotted pupil, and an insanely jealous headmaster with a predilection for S&M conspire to turn a school trip to France into a nightmare for Nick Madeline. I read it, and once I started it, I usually, if I start a book, I'll see it through to the end. I was hoping it would get better. It didn't. I wouldn't really recommend this book. And then the last book I read, I did like, well, not the last, I did read most of the other book, but I did like it, but kind of creepy. And that's Shadow of the Minotaur by Alan Gibbons. And I actually borrowed this from the library. This is about a young boy called Phoenix, and his dad's a computer programmer, and he's working on this new game, and it's like a virtual reality game where you have to have like the visor and the gloves and everything. It's like you're in the game, but it seems like the game kind of takes over. It's all like Greek mythology, and it's really, I enjoyed it. I really love Greek mythology, but it was kind of creepy and kind of scary. Like, I was reading it at night time, and it would take me half an hour to get to sleep after reading some of it because it was so scary. But I'm a coward anyway, so yeah, like the last line is, "You don't need to be asleep to have nightmares." Yeah, I would recommend it, but it's kind of scary. I don't know whether to include this book in the haul, the wrap up. This is El Árbol de la Ciencia by Pío Baroja, and it's called The Tree of Knowledge in English. I'm reading this as required reading for school for my exams. I was told I would enjoy it because it's about a student studying medicine, but it's not really my thing. It's very philosophical, and he's like looking into the spiritual side of things. There's not much plot. It's just more or less him rambling on. So yeah, I'm about a quarter of the way through, maybe just a little over. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed. This video is really long. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon. Oh, I forgot to do the thing. These are the books that I read this month. So yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.